Hi, I'd like to talk to you today about advanced directives. Advanced directives is a piece of paper that allows you to write down what your wishes are in the end of your life. That could be comfort care, or that could be you want everything done. But either way, it's a piece of paper that speaks for you when you are no longer able to speak for yourself. I'd like to express the importance of this by sharing a short story with you. It's a case study done by Ayub in 2015. It involves a 75-year-old woman who had gone to the hospital with chronic lung disease. She was on oxygen continuously throughout the day and a BiPAP at night. After about 6 months, her condition deteriorated, and it was clear that she was not going to get better. At that time, she had a conversation with her son and her physician, how she just wanted comfort care in her final days. When she became unresponsive, they put her on a BiPAP because the son had wished that happened. Anyway, she was put on a continuous BiPAP. She developed CO2 narcosis and then went into renal failure. Instead of respecting his mother's wishes to be comfortable in her final days, he decided that he wanted her to go ahead and start dialysis, which didn't work for her. She became very hypotensive. He then asked that infectious disease be consulted, cardiology, nephrology, and a pulmonologist, in the hopes of continuing her care further and further. In the end, she developed bed sores. She had infections in her blood and her urine. And when it became really evident that she was not going to survive, the son finally decided to go ahead and take her off the BiPAP, stop all kinds of treatments, and she passed away within the hour. The reason I want to share that story with you is because that happens a lot. I, as a nurse in a healthcare setting, have seen that myself. And that brings me to the topic of my paper. Research has shown that healthcare providers do not adequately explain the purpose of advanced directives to patients or their family members. And for several reasons. They may not think it's appropriate time, or because they feel uncomfortable or don't know how to engage in that discussion. Two main points I'd like to share with you. The first one, for healthcare professionals, knowing when to approach their patients and their families about end-of-life discussions is difficult. Some may think that the conversation is not important because the person is still healthy, when in fact that is probably the best time to have that conversation with a patient and a family member. In a survey done by Allen in 2015, a survey of 95 residents in an outpatient internal medical clinic were asked if they had advanced directives, and it found that 77% of those people did not, but 74% wanted them. Often when a physician waits too long and that patient is no longer to participate in that discussion, it's too late. So we're really missing the opportunity to have that discussion when it's meaningful and can really be implemented. When you do wait, there arises more problems, and I found this in research done by Egerstein in 2013 and Flibowitz and Richards in 2015. One of the problems we tend to run into is that if you have a lot of family members and the loved one that is sick has not made their wishes known, family members tend to bicker about what that person may have wanted. It can lead to a lot of conflict, anger, and hurt feelings. The second problem is that if you don't have anybody to speak to you on your behalf and you don't have an advanced directive, that leaves healthcare professionals having to do everything for you legally by the law, that they have to continue treatment. And it makes it very difficult to see people go through that when they have no one else to speak for them. I'd like to quote you something out of an article I found called The Importance of Advanced Directives. It was written in 2005. And it says this: the final moments of one's life are difficult for everyone involved in the patient's care, loved ones, and even healthcare providers. If a patient's final wishes regarding their care is unidentified or unclear, then the situation is even worse. What would be a time of caring and mourning and supporting one another can quickly become overshadowed by ethical and legal battles, and this can all be prevented by the execution of advance directives. And I know it's hard for you to see this, but I have a visual aid of an advance directive. It's just a piece of paper. You can download it in any state. I got this one off the Utah website, powerofattorney.com, but they're available in all states. You just simply fill it out. Some need to be notarized or just witnessed by two people that are not family members. My second point is that there is really not enough education taking place with physicians and nursing students while they're in school, which unfortunately leads to a lot of underpreparedness when it comes to talking to patients about end-of-life care. There's also an assumption that if you talk about end-of-life care, it can have a negative effect on patient satisfaction scores, which we all know are ways to rate a hospital, and they're become very important as of late. So I think education is really the key to get healthcare professionals to open up and have good conversations with their patients about end-of-life care. Just as an example, I want to show you two of the invasive procedures that without it you may be subject to if someone is speaking on your behalf and don't know what you want. The first one is a tracheostomy. It's a tube that goes through the throat and into the lung, and it's secured by a balloon. And then the second one is a PEG tube. This is artificial feeding. You can see again a tube that will go into the abdomen. It's held by a disc on the abdomen and a balloon inside the abdominal wall. Both have their own issues. They can lead to a source of infection, discomfort, and escoration around the throat or the abdominal site. In conclusion, healthcare professionals really have the power to open up a dialogue with their patients and their families about end-of-life care, and it's important, and it can make an important difference in how a person passes away when that time comes. I hope that this talk has got you thinking, and that you might want to have that conversation with someone you love before it's too late. Thank you.